Welcome to this video. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about why and how I started brewing kombucha, what the process has been like for me, and things I've learned. Really just kind of random thoughts about it, but this is not really a tutorial. Maybe I can do that later. So the first part of the video, I'm going to talk about kombucha and my process. I wrote down a few things, and then the second part of the video is basically going to be me rambling about random stuff. Anyway, without further ado, I'm wearing this rag right now because I accidentally kicked over my kombucha. I screwed up and spilled the kombucha everywhere. So why I started making kombucha. I think the most obvious reason is that it's so much money to buy a jar of something that is actually really cheap and easy to make at home, and for me that was enough of a reason to just give it a try. Second reason is the fact that it produces a new layer every single time you make a new batch of kombucha. So one of my climbing friends, Sadie, had a SCOBY, and her SCOBY was really, really tiny. I took the SCOBY and started to make my own batch in this big gallon jar. By the time my first batch of kombucha was done, the SCOBY had filled the entire top of this kombucha batch. So I feel like it's a little insurance policy, and it's cool to see how the different layers age, even though some of them I guess look a little funky. So I've actually given 3 of my SCOBY layers away. So one time to my roommate, and then to 2 other friends who have also started brewing and making their own kombucha. I really like that it kind of lives on forever, and it's kind of like a forever SCOBY. They have little families or something. So I would say another thing that I really enjoy about making kombucha is the fact that it kind of sets me up in 2-week intervals, and I think I really like processes that repeat enough and frequently enough that you get the reward quickly and that there's always part of the process going on. The garden is great and it's producing fruit, but it kind of produces at an irregular pace, and it happens randomly. And sometimes I go and there's, cherry tomatoes to pick or a squash, and then sometimes I go and there's nothing to pick. But that's kind of a longer life cycle, and I've really valued that. Making kombucha happens basically every 2 weeks. I brew the tea, I add sugar, and then I add a little bit of the kombucha starter from the last batch, and then I put my SCOBY in and basically top it back off, and 2 weeks later that's turned into kombucha. So you can take it out and bottle it, and then that's when you add the flavoring. And then when you add the flavoring, you then leave it out for a few days, and it starts to build that carbonation, which is why I actually got these bottling jars, as you can see. And I used to use wine bottles like this, which work perfectly well, but the caps would kind of pop off because during that second fermentation period it carbonates itself. I leave the kombucha, once it's been bottled and flavored, out for another 2, sometimes 4 days, and then I'll put it in the refrigerator, and then as soon as it's chilled down in the refrigerator, it's totally good to drink. Okay. There's always some part of the process going. So either I'm in the first part of the process with one batch that's doing its initial brew, or I'm in the second part of the process, the secondary fermentation or the drinking process, and that's happening with another batch. So I kind of always have 2 batches going on at the same time, even though I only have 1 jar where I'm brewing kombucha right now. So the next thing I was thinking about is that it's really nice to always have something that you can gift to someone. And going off the last part about how there's always kombucha being produced at basically regular intervals, you kind of always have something you can give to someone. It's got a bit of a funky taste, and I think sometimes it can taste less consistent than the store-bought kind of kombucha, but I guess that's to be expected because you've made it from scratch and the environment's not perfectly controlled. But when I give kombucha to people, normally they'll either really, really like it, or they absolutely hate it and think it's gross. But in my opinion, they're always in the wrong if they don't like it. So either they try it and they don't like it and their taste is not sophisticated enough, in my opinion, or they don't want to try it and they're kind of being a baby about it. And in my opinion, that's nice for my pretentious self to feel like I made something that's too good for their own palate. Oh, I also want to talk about making consistent flavors and how I've been flavoring it. So I've been flavoring my kombucha in the last few months using just ginger. So I started out trying a bunch of different fruits. I made kind of lots of different options. I used raspberries, strawberries, blackberries. My roommate tried it with rhubarb and banana. I've tried using mango juice, pretty much everything you can imagine, oranges, clementines. So far, though, my favorite has 100% been ginger. And the way I flavor the kombucha with the ginger is when I've taken the kombucha out of its initial fermentation process and I'm bottling it, I'll use a funnel and using like a cheese grater, I'll grate ginger I'll kind of like zest it or grate it into the bottle when I'm bottling it. First of all, ginger is a really strong flavor, and I think it goes so well with kombucha because it kind of stands up against that vinegary flavor. The fact that you grate it and it's kind of got a lot of surface area helps the ginger really get into the kombucha. And in my opinion, by far, it's been the best flavor that really tastes like what flavor it's supposed to taste like. Because I've had a hard time, honestly, with other flavors, getting it to taste strong enough that it even tastes like that flavor at all. And then I feel like I've wasted money on fruit and shouldn't have done that. I guess the last thing I want to talk about is getting labels made, because that was a really fun part of the process for me. I think once I decided I was going to start making kombucha, one part of me was really excited to start brewing and fermenting it and making it, and then the other part of me was equally excited to have kombucha that I made and to kind of have this nice final polished product that almost felt like I could sell it in a store. I decided to start getting labels printed, and so I'll actually show you my notebook right now, and I can zoom in on it. So I started to draw out some little labels for myself, and I kind of iterated on it. I had some ideas. I wanted to have like a little animal or a little bug, something kind of cool. But I was playing around with, what different labels I should put on it, and I kind of started to refine it a little bit more. Yeah, I guess that's all I have here. So basically, after I had doodled it up, I traced over it in Photoshop, and then I sent off labels to get printed. I think this was like $50, which was a little expensive, but I got these nice high quality sticker labels that I can put on my kombucha. Basically, I've named it Fly in a Jar, Owen's Fly in a Jar kombucha. So it's basically a fly stuck in a jar, and that's kind of the theme, I guess, or branding of my kombucha. To make a label, to get the bottles and jar them, even though some of the bottles are just random reused bottles for me, but it's kind of helped add to part of the process and make it more fun. What they look like. Here's the labels I got printed. They're kind of cool. I can zoom in on those. And then, you can see on a bottle of actual brewed kombucha. Turned out pretty good, I think. So, a little imperfect, but I feel like that adds character. And then also when I do give it as a gift, people really appreciate the label and they think it's cute and funny that I did that. So, okay, I guess we'll move on to the second part of the video, which is talking about random crap that I've been thinking about. Yesterday, I went to the Catherine Small Gallery in Somerville, which is basically a small little typography bookstore / museum. And it's very small, very interesting. There's lots of books on typeface and history. It's more design, but layout and design. Lots of cool old zines and little brochures and cool labels and signs and prints and stuff. It was a very nice little shop. It was kind of in like a 2-story walk-up house sort of thing. Only one section of the store is really you can walk through there. The other section is kind of the library. It looks like that's where they do some of the work or design or archive some of the stuff, because it seemed like there was also some kind of museum work going on in there. I recommend it to people to check out as something cool to do, but honestly, most of the books were way too expensive. Honestly, I think it's one of those places where unless you have a lot of money and are very into that kind of thing, it kind of doesn't make sense. I think it is worth a stop by just to check it out, see what kind of design stuff they offer, and if anyone's interested in like coffee table books or design books, they've got lots of really cool stuff in there. I just feel like I don't appreciate it necessarily enough that I can purchase something or justify something that's that expensive. I was walking back from a coffee shop like right around there, and on my way back to Harvard Square, I ended up stopping in at the Harvard Art Museum, which was great because there was free admission for students, which was super nice. So I just did a little loop around there and checked out the exhibit, and then figured I'd stop in the gift store. For some reason, they had a $5 table, which was great, and they were selling actual real good things for less than $5, which was absolutely insane to me. I actually got this book, which you can see it's a chunky book. It's like a real coffee table book, I guess. And I can't really read what's on the front. I'm not even sure if it's in English, and I haven't checked yet. No, it is not in English. I guess it's moving week in Boston, so I've been running around the neighborhood trying to find random stuff on the side of the road. I found lots of little things. I found a few plant pots that I guess I'll be using, which I actually, hold on, I can grab it right now. So I got this pot. It's kind of it's an old IKEA pot called Boysen Bar, I guess, and this is what the plant looks like so far. So excited to see how this turns out. Kind of looks nice. My roommate has a little bit of a bigger one of them, so I guess I'll show you what it looks like. So this is one of the more mature plants that my roommate grew, and this grew from a clipping. So honestly, there was lots of other crap. I did get a yoga mat, so that's something I guess I can use. Oh, I think I actually did see a toilet as well as I was walking around, so that was kind of exciting. Okay, and I think the last thing I'll talk about in this video is my filming setup. I'm kind of going for a new thing here. The last video I did sort of more like a vlog style of my process of making pesto. This video, I'm using my phone to record, but I've plugged in my Shure SM57 microphone, which I use for some music recording, and I plugged my audio interface and the microphone into my iPhone, and I'm just filming on my iPhone. So I figured I would try to do a bit of a better audio setup because I think that audio quality makes a huge impact on how listenable, I guess, and enjoyable a video is. So I'll show you my little filming setup as well. So, you know, this is my living room, and you can see I've got my tripod set up right here and my audio interface, and right now my microphone is plugged into where I'm filming. So anyway, thought you guys might think the filming setup's interesting, and if you have any recommendations for me, happy also to take those. Thank you. Thanks for watching this video, and yeah, check out my other videos or not, I don't really care.